You're listening to Life and Shyt. I'm Danielle Walker.
And I'm Tommy Walker.
Join us as we talk about our journey overcoming fears, boundaries, marriage, family, lifestyle, business, and whatever other shit you can think of.
We're individuals that came together to create one unit with one mind and one goal.
Hey, baby.
What's the word?
What's going on?
Another beautiful day in paradise.
How you doing today?
I am exhausted.
You look exhausted.
Been up since 5 o'clock, 4:45
this morning. You don't look
morning.
exhausted. You look good, baby. You look good.
Nah, I feel good. I feel good, but I am exhausted.
That's all that matters. I had a question for you.
Hit me.
Why should we shop local?
Why should we shop local?
Yeah.
Like local stores and all
Yeah,
that?
local businesses.
You know, I have no idea. Like, you know, before we studied this, I had no idea why you're supposed to shop local. Like, it sounds cool, right? It's like shop local. And then we became local business owners.
Right.
And then once we became local business owners, then I understood, like, oh, okay, this is the reason why. So you shop local because one reason, the country is built on small business, right? And if the country is built on small business, we need to support that. Because everything else, you know, they're going to make it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
My experience from shopping local is just doing what the locals do, right? So anytime I go anywhere different, you just want to do what the locals do. So even North Carolina, I'm like, what do the locals eat here? You know, like where's the barbecue, or, you know, what's local? So that's the only thing I know about being local. That's
it. So that's super dope. Today we talk about shopping local, and we're continuing our our Celebrating Women Month.
Her story.
And we're super excited to have a guest in the house today with us. We got Monica Mongomery, who is Councilwoman of District 4 here in San Diego. And if you understand San Diego, we have 9 different districts. There's a council member that represents each district, and Monica represents District 4, which is the district we actually live in. Right? Yes. And Monica is also council president so in council president means she's running things up there in City Hall. So just a little bit about Monica, and then she's going to tell her story. A lawyer, graduated from Spelman, California Western School of Law. So lawyer by trade, got into the community, and I'm talking not that community relationship where you hear about the politician and then you don't never see them. I'm talking knocking on doors, shaking hands, meeting business owners, and still doing that.
Yes,
even after being elected. So
at functions, consistently
coming out
there
to the neighborhood in cleanups.
Yes,
like Monica was out there in cleanups with sweatpants, hanging out with.
Sure was. I seen her. I was there.
So super honored to have Monica in the house with us. Thank you so much.
Oh my goodness, thank you for having me. But I have to make one correction because I am the pro tem, so that means I'm the second.
Oh, okay. Second in charge. Okay.
The council president pro tem. Okay. That's one thing, but
it's close enough for me. So tell me, I know you are newly wedded.
I am.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
And tell me how married life is.
It is good. You know, we got married in August of 2020.
Ooh, in the thick of things.
In the thick of things, yeah. We had to change a lot of our stuff up, but we moved forward with it and had a wonderful time. It was very restricted, so I have to go back and we have to really plan a party.
And do it again.
I was say, are you going to go through the whole thing and make it bigger this time?
We're not going to do the ceremony part.
Okay.
Family was there, you know. But the party, yeah.
That's cool. And then tell me a little bit about your occupation. I know Tommy gave a very, very awesome introduction, but tell us a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, so like Tommy said, I'm one of 9 members of the legislative body for the city of San Diego. So we have to make a lot of different decisions. And a lot of our decisions are what people would say are boring decisions, but they impact our quality of life, whether we know it or not. You know, we make a lot of decisions about how land will be used in the city, you know, how we zone particular parts of the city, what's allowed, what's not. The biggest part of our budget, of course, is the public safety budget. So that includes the police department and the fire department and the lifeguards and the emergency medical services. So those are everyday things that we all need, but the city council has to make decisions about how much we're going to spend on what. So what our priorities as a city, that we decide that through the vote of the people.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love
that's
that.
pretty dope.
I love that. And what do you do for fun?
Nothing this year.
Work.
Work. So, but you know what? I really love to travel. I really love to travel. So, getting outside of my home and seeing different things, like you were saying, what do the locals do? You know, is just like something that I treasure so much. I like to sing.
I did not know that.
Check this out.
Yeah, nobody. I'm surprised. Look, this breaking news. Breaking news.
Watch out, everybody.
We won't make you sing right now,
Well,
unless you feel it.
You can't make me.
That's going to go right into my next question. What's your dreams? So I'm guessing to be singing.
That is such a good question that I don't get asked often. I will say, as hard as this job is, especially through a pandemic, I just love it. And I feel like I'm walking in my purpose. So that's all my dream is, to eventually have 4 different homes in 4 different places and just live quarterly in each place, and just have fun and experience life and take my family with me. That's really my dream. Like I love it, and I do love to serve people. So, but I like to travel.
That's dope.
That's dope.
So I gotta ask that, where at least one place where you want that house,
the second house, right?
Gosh.
other than San Diego, of course.
Right. I'm
second
trying.
house.
That's a good question too, because I don't want to limit myself.
Yeah.
I went to Spelman, so I definitely want to go back to Atlanta.
Okay.
And have some time there, but having something out of the country would be cool too.
Oh yeah. So we live in Mexico, so we highly suggest it. We always talk about, and Mexico is like kind of our putting our toe in the water on living outside the country, because ultimately we were talking about Italy, like Danielle loves Rome.
Philippines. Yes, Rome. I fell in love with. I would definitely live there.
So it's like, if you could do it here, you could do it anywhere. If you survive in New York, you can survive anywhere.
Yeah. We'll have to tell you more about Mexico.
Yeah, super dope.
So I'm going to ask you the question as well that I asked Tommy. Why shop local businesses?
Well, there's a lot of different perspectives that I have about it. One is both my parents are entrepreneurs.
Okay.
And although they were in the services business per se, or buy, sell, my dad, he still has a construction company that my mom works in, and also my brother. And then my mom is a real estate broker. So I kind of grew up in it, that sense of independence, and always want to support that when members of our community decide to step out and take that risk, because it is a risk. So on a personal side, that's like really, really important to me. And it just increases the morale of people, and it says a lot about us just supporting each other. But on the government side, small businesses are the backbone of our economy and our communities. When we say that, they hire people so people can eat, and they can have health insurance, and they can feed their families. And we also get taxes from businesses that are in our communities, in our area, in our city. So that's very, very important. As we grow, we continue to support local. And just the last thing, it's like, I kind of liken it to the fact that in my office we have, I think there are 9 of us right now, and the majority of us live in the district or are extremely familiar with the district. And it's a different approach we have to the work.
That's dope.
So like local business owners have a different approach to the work, to the community, to the people.
That's 1,000%.
And so the more we support that, the more we're actually directly supporting our communities.
Yes.
Yeah, that's real talk right there. Now, you grew up with entrepreneurs. What's that like coming up? Like when you see, because we always talk about this. Like my dad worked in the city. Both my dad and my mother worked for the city, and the past or the word in the house was get a city job, get that secure job and never have to worry. But being in the house with entrepreneurs, what was that discussion like? Yeah,
it's interesting that you say that. Because I tend to be risk averse because of what I saw my parents go through sometimes.
Okay.
You know, but it's so in me, like I'm already like, okay, am I going to run again and hopefully do 4 more years and then go out and have my 5 businesses? Because that's really what I want to do. I want to have my 5 businesses, you know, because it's in me. And my father in particular has such an independent spirit and always just wanted to build wealth for his family, a good name and wealth for his family. And so I grew up with him having that sense of pride and taking that risk. So in a sense, it was uncomfortable for us sometimes because we had some ups and downs. But then, on the other hand, I know it can be done.
Yes.
You know, and because of the sacrifice he made, I can even add more to it because, you know, my father didn't go to college. Probably one of the most smartest men I know, but he didn't go to college, right? But he made sure that we went. So now I can add what I've learned to that spirit, that entrepreneurial spirit, and then, you know, go even to the next level. So it's I went through that time in my life where I'm like, man, I'm not doing this. This is too much. But as I get older, I understand, like, that's what my dad did, what my parents did. That's bold.
Yeah.
You
that
know?
was an awesome example for you to have. And then, you know, as a trip, you saying that your parents came from city jobs and you had entrepreneurs. And then I came from a background that was nothing like either one of those, right? My mom was on welfare. It was a struggle. She had 5 kids. No male figure in the house, right? I never met my dad. But because of the lack, I always wanted more. I was just telling some of our team members today about my first business that I had at 10 selling walnuts, you know.
Wow.
But it's because of not having that. I was like, look, y'all, we're going to sell some walnuts so we could go do what we want to do because the other kids are going to do it because their parents are paying for it. But, you know, that's what struck in me. But it's funny how it's always something different that kind of gets you going,
Very
you know.
true. That's very true.
It is.
And our first, we always talk about our businesses, but our first brick and mortar business was back in 2017, and we opened a coffee shop with 4 of the families. And when, like I said early in when we first started, I didn't understand the reason of why shop local until we put a business in our neighborhood. So our coffee shop was in the neighborhood we lived in, and when people came out, like the community, the camaraderie and the relationships that was built from it, it opened my eyes a lot. And I didn't understand what growing in your community and making things happen until we had a business. Like, we own a home in our community, but even then, like, when you own a home, you're like, I don't go to the meetings, I don't vote, I don't know who's who, I don't know why this community has nice stuff going on and my community does. I didn't understand none of that. We opened the business, I started going to community meetings, start understanding things, completely different ball game. And I had a discussion with my dad living in North Carolina, and we talked about the difference of going to these meetings, meeting your elected officials and being a part.
Yep.
And I always want to be a part of something, like you said, serve. But where can people go? Like, how do you get the message out for people to understand what's going on in their neighborhoods and communities?
Yeah, because government, I will say, I believe that's something that we kind of struggle with, right? Really actually getting the word out to the people in ways that are just simple, you know. But we in District 4, we've kind of had a legacy that goes back to George Stevens and previous to that, but really George Stevens was really honed in on our community councils and making sure people had community pride, you know. And so we have community councils for our 18 different neighborhoods once a month. Staff is there. Sometimes I pop in. And there you can go and you can learn about what's going on at the city, get updates. Sometimes county representatives are there, state representatives are there. Sometimes even federal representatives are there. And really you can learn more, but also ask questions about the things that you want to see in your community. I also think we, as elected officials, have to go out too. Because if I had never went to that coffee shop,
Very true.
You know, y'all were doing your thing, but I still had a responsibility to also meet you, you know, where you were. And after that, every meeting I had, I was bringing somebody to the coffee shop because It was it gave us a sense of pride. And, I grew up in Paradise Hills, and my cousins, a lot of them lived there. And one of my cousins was like, "Dang, I didn't even know this was here." So she started going. So it just, the more that we can get the word out and really do our job of listening to people and explaining how things work, working to try to change some of those things, but at least having that that relationship with people, I think, is super important.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Creating community is huge with small businesses. Like I said initially, that's one of the reasons that some people travel. And when we had the coffee shop at the time, people were coming from even LA just to see, what was local in Paradise Hills. So to me, when you excel locally, then you bring in people even who are not local, So like Paradise Hills perhaps wasn't on the map, so to speak, in the coffee world until then, right? So I love the way that the small businesses and local businesses create community in that sense.
Real talk. And you might not understand this, but local businesses support other local businesses. So like as our coffee shop, we had to go and buy supplies, and we bought supplies from another local business in San Diego.
Very true.
We wasn't going to, these big box stores and shopping online. Like we were keeping it all local.
Yes.
And one cool thing about being local is, everybody is very concerned, especially in California, about, their environmental footprint. And, what kind of carbon footprint you put in. When you support local businesses, there's less transportation, right? So because you're walking to, whatever your local, shop is, your local boutique. And at the same time, you're getting some exercise. It's healthy, And if you look at certain neighborhoods, if there's actual, data that shows how healthy a community is. And if your community is not healthy, it's because there's not enough small businesses there. District 4 being one of them in our area, our little business district, there wasn't a lot of things that we could walk to go support. So therefore, what you do, you hop in the car, you drive 15, 20 minutes, and you eat, or you do, there was no reason to walk around.
Yeah, that's true. And another reason, too, that I like to support local businesses is I think you get better service. I think that they care a little bit more about their product and the way that it's represented it, and they know more about the product, so that's like more product knowledge. So I think you get a little bit of better service then, whereas if you go to some place that's like IHOP, the person who's there, they don't care, they just want a paycheck, you know what I mean, and that's pretty much it. So where if you go to mom and pop, I'm trying to think of one now that's small where it's like, oh yeah, that's Sue over there, she works here, but she's also the owner, it's a lot different. It's a lot different.
Well, when I think of mom and pop, I think of Donata's Kitchen. Shout out to Oz.
That's true.
Oz and his wife, who we had on the show. Donata's Kitchen, they're in City Heights, Normal Heights area of San Diego. And mom and pop shop. That's legit mom and pop shop. You get to see the owners there every day.
You walk in, you're going to see Oz there, who's the owner and the chef. His wife's going to be working on the register, and sometimes their niece is going to be helping out.
Now, Monica, you said something, you talked about taxes being back in the community. And another thing I didn't understand, coming up, and like you said, the education of people. What does the taxes do? And you said as one of your daily decision making is how does the budget and where does it go? And you got 9 other people that you have to compete with in making those decisions. But what does taxes do for the community?
Well, yeah, and most of the taxes do go into one bigger pot, and then some we get from the county, the property taxes and stuff like that. But when we buy, we kind of have this joke at the city, the mayor says it the most, where when people come into town, buy as much as you can, because we're getting our cut, right? But it's a similar.
It's real talk, though.
Yeah, but it's like you said about our neighborhoods. It's like the way that we, if we're practicing disinvestment in certain communities, we're actually hurting ourselves, because people have to go. Like Paradise Hills is close to National City, it's close to Lemon Grove, it's close to Spring Valley. So if we don't have shops there, we're going outside of the city lines, and we're losing that tax base. And so we really have to add that to the conversation. It's not just about me screaming and yelling and saying, we want what everybody else has, which is true and better. We want better, right? But, and I will do that. I have no problem doing that, but it's actually not smart. the way we're doing things. We're leaving money on the table. And so it's very important that tax base goes back into our $4 billion budget at the city. And so from that, we make decisions about who gets what.
And Tommy and I had a little debate about whether those taxes go to fire protection and police protection. Is that something that those taxes go to?
You mean protection for elected officials?
Or the district, or for the community?
For the police department and the fire department budget are our biggest budgets at the city.
Okay.
They take up at least 1/3 of what we do, but it's also park and recreation. It's also all of the infrastructure. It's the stormwater. It's the piping. All of the things that we need that, sometimes we, don't really think about.
Like you said, it's the boring stuff until you have a flood outside your house because it's the drain's not
or
flooded,
your water,
right?
you can't drink your water. Those are the types of things that we have our responsibility to provide at the city.
Yeah.
You mentioned Park and Rec and how money goes into that. Now, when I drive around, and let me know, do you hear this, or is this a real thing? When I drive around, I'm like, man, this is a nice park in this neighborhood, or why does this neighborhood have so many nice parks?
I hear it every day.
Yeah. And then you look at other neighborhoods, and is that a direct, is that all because of, it's just not enough taxes going into that particular community, or?
It's about 50 years. We actually had an item. So I'm the chair of Public Safety and Livable Neighborhoods. So the Park and Recreation Department are under the purview of that committee. So we just actually had an audit come to us this morning, and it shows all of the data, exactly what you said in 2 sentences, where there is a divide in the department. There's a literal divide as far as resources are concerned, but there's also a divide the way they divide it up in the department, the way they do the work. There's the Parks Community Division 1 that's north of the 8 and Division 2 that's south of the 8. So they start with the premise of division. Then when we see the numbers, we have twice as many participants in programming north of the 8. And that's because we have not set up a system to invest in communities that, may not have the money to pay for some of the programming. People may not have it. So the people in the north, they oftentimes do pay for their own programming. But I also think that the city has invested more into that infrastructure. It's more attractive to go to a lot of those facilities. Yep. And it goes back to the argument, what you said about if something's not here, I'm going to get in my car and go somewhere else and get that service. It's not smart the way that we are doing this. And the data is showing us that we need to change the way that we do things. So, yes, our recreation centers are older. They're not in as good a shape. Our fields are older. They're not in good shape. And then you put 30 years of disinvestment on top of that. It's just, that's what we walked into.
That's a compound effect.
So
just like compound interest.
Yeah.
Yes,
so one at a time, we are really trying to. But that's what is important, like to parents. That's what we hear. We hear that every single day. I do not want to have my child here playing in a park where I don't know if they're gonna get hurt or not.
Right.
And that's crazy, the things that we think about in our neighborhoods, stuff like that, where, like you said, if you go north of the 8, that's the last thing on their minds.
Yeah. But
kids run around, no problem.
This is why it's important to shop locally, right? At local businesses.
And advocate to us. Go to the community meetings.
Yes.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely. Another great reason to. I know you guys keep going into politics, but I'm bringing it back to.
Sorry.
That's why you shop local, though. Support your community.
Yes,
Absolutely.
It's true. But would you guys say that they have more diverse, or more diverse products if you shop locally, meaning that if you go to Vons or if you go to the grocery store, it's going to have all the soaps that regular, like Dove, But if you go to a local shop, you may find some shea butter that you haven't seen before, some black soap, right? So to me, I think that when you go to a local business, then you have those like hidden treasures.
Yeah, you have a personal touch when you go to a local business, and particularly you have whatever the niche is, right? So when you think box store or any big business, like you mentioned IHOP earlier, and IHOP is in damn near every neighborhood.
Yeah.
But that's not a local business, right? So I don't want people to get that misconstrued either. It's like,
I was comparing it to a local business.
Yeah, and so people will say, well, I do shop local because I go to IHOP.
Oh,
Like,
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's not a local business. A local business is someone that lives in your neighborhood or, that's local to the community, not, this big franchise who has a headquarters in Tennessee.
Generally, when you walk into a local business, you see the person who owns the business,
exactly.
right?
Or their kids.
Or their kids running around.
That's true.
There used to be a breakfast place a long time ago, and I think it was off of 47th. Anyway, it was Elaine's, and I still remember her. And I was a little girl. So yeah, there's a different feel. She knew us, certainly a different feel, and I feel like there's more heart.
They know their products. They know their products too, right?
Yeah.
So they're like, hey, I've been picking these apples since the tree was a baby now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It reminds me of. His name is not Mike, but we all call him Mike from Mike's Pizza in the neighborhood. Yeah. He's been there for 30 years, right? And Mike's like, I know this neighborhood. He's like, now Mike don't live in the neighborhood, but he's been in that neighborhood for 30 years.
He's got some stories.
Yeah, he does.
Good stories.
One good fact is that, I know we, as a human beings, we always look for a discount. Like no matter what, we always want to, and that's why people will tell you like, oh, the reason why I don't shop local is I get it cheaper somewhere else, or I go to Target because it's cheaper there. But if for every $100 spent at a local business, 73 of those dollars stay in the community. So back to where we were saying about building the community. If you shop online, only 43 of those dollars go back to the community. So and if you think about it, if you look at the communities, and do you shop at your local market or no, I don't shop there because they don't have the stuff I need. They don't have the stuff you need because it's like one of those things where it's a never ending cycle. And then the other part of that is the know-how to start a business and, how much headache it is to get into it. From your chair, if somebody said to you, hey, Monica, I want to start a local business in District 4, what's the first thing that you would tell somebody to get started in the community?
That's a tough one. We do have, as a government structure, small business help, but we don't put as much as we should into our small businesses and into startups. Now we can refer out to different organizations that do, and I know not to go into government too much, but the federal government does as well. But it's about capital, and what I've been trying to work on with the chambers and with folks is to, help build the capital, because people are, they're taking the classes, they're doing what they need to do, they're trying to do everything right, but it's about having that capital and not having to pay it all back once you get up and get going. That's it. It's really tough to start a small business, and then we're in San Diego. So that's, if you're talking brick and mortar, that's another element, right? Yeah, but it is important, and there are certainly steps that we can advise on. We do need to invest more.
And that's real talk. Me, our producer, we was talking today about the know-how, and you mentioned the chambers is like giving the people the tools and the education that they need to get out there and do it. Because it's like you said with your parents growing up in an entrepreneur home, it's scary. It's very scary. So some people, when they look at their local business, they're like, man, you have been here for 30 years. And the first thing you think of mine is, well, you can't be rich if you're in this neighborhood. And that's, right off the back, that's what you think about is it's not really about being rich. It's a service to your community and freedom at the same time, right? I have my own, my own business. I'm my own boss, got my own schedule.
And that's what makes the difference. That's why we shop local, because we feel that's already a sacrifice that a business owner is making. But it's a glad sacrifice. It's fine because they're doing what they need to do for their community.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm super excited about the coffee shop that we have coming new. Like we have a new coffee shop
Me
that we're putting
too.
into the community.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Everything, you know.
It's definitely like the butterflies. And people have asked us, like, why are we putting a coffee shop in that neighborhood? We've even been asked, why even start a coffee shop? How much work is going to be? It goes back to that community service. Like, and if you look at our neighborhoods in particular, and I don't think I've ever disclosed this publicly, this has just been a conversation between Danielle and I, but if you look at a map of San Diego and you look at where the coffee shops are, all the coffee shops are west of the 15 freeway, which is more affluent, more money. And if you look at the east of the 15, you got a handful. You know, we shout out to the coffee shops that are out there doing it right now. But there's literally only a handful of coffee shops because people, you know, they don't feel like it's a market, or people don't have the money, or they don't have the taste for it, and it's a drought. And so our intentions was like, let's create that culture, just like how we did the first one, that third space. Because when you create a space for people to come out, man, ideas, the like we said, the relationships that are built,
Right.
it's impressive.
Right. The community, again, just to bring the community together, some place for people to go is huge.
And that's also a misnomer and a misperception, too, of our community. We do have, working families and working people with not high incomes, but we spend out a lot, and we spend a lot out of our community.
Outside, yes.
And we've had studies done on that in over $1 billion outside of our community.
Wow.
So that, we have to stick up for our own selves too. But then we also, I love what y'all are doing because you're not going to anybody else. You're doing it yourself.
Yeah, and as scary and hard as it is, appreciate that. Thank you. $1 billion. That's crazy. So I got to ask you this. What would you do with $1 billion for our district? Like
my goodness.
If you had $1 billion, like legitimately, if District 4 spent $1 billion, what would that look like?
A lot. So what I talked about, a capital fund for small businesses, all of our streets paved, all of our parks where our kids can play, everything, like that would be amazing. And we are having a lot more investment, but certainly not $1 billion. So that would be awesome.
$1 billion is
Bring it
far,
on. Yeah. I love it.
You got something else? You have a list?
I'm trying to go through my list, but you guys keep making it a little more juicier. I'm like, okay, like wait, no, let's talk about that. No, but you brought up that it's more expensive to shop locally, and I think that because people don't have such a huge overhead, that sometimes it's not as expensive to shop locally. What do you think about that? What is your thoughts?
I mean, it just depends. I don't think we can call it. Every situation is different. Sometimes it might be a little bit more expensive, but you also have to look at the quality of what you're getting. Depends on how you judge what's, more expensive. Things may last longer, So it does depend. It takes a little bit more thought to shop locally.
It does.
To find your spots and kind of try different things out and see what you like, as opposed to, going to a big box and kind of just knowing what you're going to get. So it does, it's a commitment. But when we get into the habit, it's much easier, and it's not, depending on your financial situation, it's certainly worth it.
Yeah.
One thing you said, I think both of you said, it was about how people didn't know that we were in Paradise Hills. The coffee shop wasn't there. That's one thing about local businesses is people don't, like, you could be in a community for years and people don't know it. And getting the information out is one thing. Knocking on doors is another thing. But what else can small business owners do, to get their name out there? I mean, yes, we could go talk to our city officials, but I can't rely on the mayor to say, go shop at such and such store, Well, in a lot of what we do, and I think small businesses included, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. I mean, it's
right.
just, that it takes a lot of consistency in marketing. So I think that is very important. I also know, oftentimes in communities like ours, we tend to, this is a very general statement, but we talk a lot about gentrification. The gentrification oftentimes happens before businesses start coming in, when we start to devalue our own community. And part of that mentality is, I'm not going there. I'm going to go over, where it's better. Right? And so we sometimes do that, to ourselves by way, and we do it to our families and to our businesses that want to, be in the community and have that heart and soul that we talk about. So it's a mentality. It's changing our mindset, changing our habits, and supporting each other.
That is great, because we talk about habits all the time. That's huge.
I read a great quote, and it says, "Eat local, shop local, spend local, do everything local, be a trend, start the trend," right? So to me, that's another way that you can, as a small business, get your name out there, is by actually going to other places and like saying, hey, come here, like this would be awesome. So come to this place, just us advertising as ourselves and doing the do.
Yeah. And like you said, you always want to do what locals do. Get lost in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
Get lost in your neighborhood, get around the community and meet people and ask, hey, like, where do you eat at? What do you do here? And get that word out there internally. But we, like Monica said, we got to switch that mindset of like, oh, I don't want to do this here. I'll go 15, 20 minutes away.
What are some fun local San Diego things?
Oh, shit.
Like Hodads. I know Hodads. Is that a local thing?
Hodads is local, yeah.
Because that's one of the things, like if you look up like the best places to eat in San Diego, right? Is that going to come up? But you know what? Nita Frank's ice cream does not come up. Do you know Nita Frank's? It's in National City. Tommy used to do this local routes where he would go to different local, which was really, really cool, local businesses basically, and he'd go and talk to the owners, and that was really, really cool. Ice cream shop that's been there for what?
It's been there forever, and the current owner's been there since like 95.
Oh, wow.
And all the ice cream is made homemade, fresh, and she had almost 60 flavors or something. I don't know, maybe
all kinds of shit. Yeah.
Every flavor you could think of plus more. It's just like this hidden little secret, Nita Frank's ice cream. So maybe you guys never been there, go there. It's one of the only places I could think of that's local right now.
One thing about San Diego that I love, and I mentioned this earlier, is especially in our very high touristy areas, you don't see a lot of franchise.
True.
And like Monica said, when people come to town, the first thing the mayor says is buy double, right? But that's a real statement. Like it's funny, but that's a real statement. When you come to San Diego, you mostly see like mom and pop type shops that are doing, and some are doing very well even from this neighborhood. Like if you look, from the city. So if you look at different neighborhoods like the Breakfast Republic or your Better Buzzes, things like that. Like those are San Diego brands that are doing well and building out.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. What's another one I was thinking of? That's a local. I can't think of anything. No. You got nothing local?
I got all kind of local stuff. Man, it just depends on what neighborhood you're in. I don't want to shout out any other neighborhoods because we represent District 4 right now. I'm kind of being biased.
We're baby cakes.
Baby cakes. Yep. We're talking local. We're talking local. You can't be biased now, but I understand.
All things San Diego right now. But Joe, it was a great conversation. To really get into the community, there's community apps out there. We talked about getting the word out. There's community apps. Get on the apps. There's Facebook groups. Facebook groups could be a little weird because you always got people out there that want to talk about some crazy stuff. But shopping local is very, very important. Like I said, shopping online is a discount, but man, at least spend your Saturdays and Sundays at a local business, and then build that habit from there. You said it great. Start the trend. Eat local, shop local, enjoy local. My final thought is learn and grow in your community first, and then go from there.
I love it. And my final thought is help support the local businesses. In the long run, they support you. You don't know it, but they do.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Monica, where can people find you, want to talk with you, communicate with you, or what do you have that's going on that the people should know about? Websites, different things. Yeah,
so the official city website, you can just Google District 4 San Diego, and it comes up, and we have a lot of our stuff. We're about to revamp the peace movement We had started that in 2019, just bringing folks together from different backgrounds and kind of talking through some of the issues that we have as a community. But now we see, post-pandemic, there's just a lot going on out in our community. So we're about to start
the peace movement.
Okay, let's live, let's love. We're about to start that up again.
Okay.
So that's on the website, just an explanation of that, and we'll keep you all updated on that. And so I'm going to take my official hat off and put the other hat on. I am campaigning. And so there's Monica 4, the number 4, sandiego.com. Can kind of go and read about some of the things we've done in our upcoming events. So there's just a lot, but there's also we've been really trying our best to utilize City Hall for the people. We really have. And now we have to get out and just kind of go through a lot of the things that we've been doing.
Super
so
dope.
I'm looking forward to it.
Appreciate that.
Yes.
Monica, the number 4.com.
Yes.
Super dope.
San Diego, Monica for San Diego.
MonicaForSanDiego.com.
Before we get out of here, I just want to say that you are an inspiration to me. I've watched your journey. I listened to your speeches. You are definitely an inspiration to me. I thank you for your hard work. I thank you for your commitment. And I thank you for your diligence and the things that you do for a neighborhood that you came from, that you are from. So to me, it's you put your blood, your sweat, and your tears there, and it's worth it. And thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Super dope. This is Lyfe and Shyt.
Lyfe and Shyt. Love you, baby.
Love you. Do us a favor. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe. Leave a review. Let us know what your thoughts are. That's the only way that this show is going to be successful. And we appreciate you. Talk with you next time.